space. By public space, I mean investments around government, or what government has actually invested in terms of infrastructure. But then you also look at the private sector, which includes a number of companies and how far they've gone in terms of building the enabling infrastructure. So being an open economy, we believe that both the private and public sectors are playing a level ground in terms of building the enablers of information and the bridges, trying to bridge most of the missing puzzles that enable information actually to be used or be utilized. What you have to know is that there is a difference between data and information. Though most people use them interchangeably, but there is a big difference between data and information. Now, information is actually what you derive
from data.
So there is the whole entire process that you go through to collect data, analyze it. These are the different dots that you connect, especially in your business functions, as a business, procurement, sales, marketing. There's a lot of data that is hanging out there, so which you collect, analyze, and create meaningful significance out of it. Absolutely. So that's when you do speak about like data analysts, the guys who look at this data and actually derive meaning out of it. Though most of these functions are now being simplified by ICTs, what we call like the ERPs, enterprise resource planning systems that are available to actually look at the sales, look at all the business functions of the business and actually derive meaning out of it. But you did mention something to do with the enablers. So as government, we invested heavily in infrastructure. I would like to focus mainly on what the sector has done, the ICT sector. When we liberalized this sector in around 1998, we actually said, no, we don't as government need to clearly hang on to this because the world is moving very fast and we need to open it up such that more players come in, and we made it very attractive for foreign direct investments and even other foreign players to come into our market. The likes of the telcos that are coming in, and they invested heavily. The guys into the towers, the ATCs, the ETONs, they invested heavily in infrastructure that enables information sharing and a lot of things that we do communicate via most of these devices. Then we also have the other enabler. I didn't mention something to do with what government has invested in properly. We've invested into a number of enablers as government. We have now the national backbone infrastructure.
National backbone infrastructure.
/ e-government infrastructure. Now this is an interesting fundamental change that happened to this space. Before we used to rely heavily on private infrastructure. The cables that were laid by the MNOs, the fiber optics cables that were laid by the telcos and all these other players in the industry. But when government came in around 2011, that is when NITA was actually institutionalized by the Act of Parliament, then we started on building agile infrastructure to be able to accommodate the transactions, the traffic that is all within this country, and especially government. So we built the national optic fiber cable that's apparently running, traversing the country to around 4,300 kilometers of fiber. From the east, when we tap into the upstream providers. Upstream providers are like the internet companies or international ISPs that bring their cables up to the Indian Ocean, up to the coastline. So they travel from Europe, from elsewhere, and then dock at the coastline.
But they still go underground.
Yes. So now we go into terrestrial, where the inland companies, like private government companies, now lay those cables to again extend connectivity inland. So we pick from Malaba and Busia, but then also now scale it up to the entire region, or the entire country. We've traversed, I think, around 53 districts. This is in the public investment, connecting around 1,000 plus entities. These are public offices that were formerly or prior not connected to any kind of internet. So they're just operating on modems. Remember those modems that we used
I do remember. Actually, they have disappeared of late. They're not really a thing.
So it's been really a heavy investment for government, and we've really built that infrastructure. It's up and running, it's agile. But again, it's not only infrastructure for internet. There is also now, when you build most of these systems, where do they sit? By sit, where do they?
Data centers?
Very good.
Okay.
Now, government again, through National IT Authority, built the National Data Center, what we call the cloud.
Oh, the cloud, yes, the cloud center.
So this is a Tier 3 ISO certified facility that mirrors also into a disaster recovery site. So we have the primary and secondary data centers, which are hosting largely 90 or 95% of all systems in government. So what used to happen is that we used to pay a lot of money to Amazons, to all those foreign companies that were hosting all this data.
To give us storage?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we did, or what NITA did, as part of government, or the IT arm of government, we invested heavily in this infrastructure.
Okay.
For the backbone, IT as an enabler, but then also in terms of hosting of most of all these applications.
Okay.
So now we're moving into a stage of business automation around government, re-engineering most of these business process flows across government to be able now to automate functions of government, to be able to provide citizens with e-services.
Okay, I see.
So we are now moving from paper-based services to now electronic or digital services.
Digital services.
So we've built a number of infrastructure around that space. But again, also I want to thank the role of the private sector. Because when we really opened up as government and put enabling laws, we have very good cyber laws. And then also the infrastructure. Also private players contributed to this by also scaling up the infrastructure across the country. Okay. Back then we used to even have problems or challenges, even trying to connect, trying to call someone.
Very true, yeah.
So actually when you went to most of your villages, you could actually literally switch off your phones and wait maybe when you're back in Kampala and then you turn them on.
When you go WhatsApp, you send a message to somebody and it reaches
WhatsApp is recent.
The next day.
WhatsApp is recent.
So
before you used to rely on messages.
That's interesting.
You millennials. Now, the problem is that when all these things are being set up, now we're trying to derive value out of it. Now that's where most of the businesses are failing. That with all this environment that has been established, how do we move forward? It's like building roads, but actually there's no traffic on those roads.
On the roads. Okay.
So the roads are there, they're built, they're new, but you don't have cars, we're still moving by our feet on these very good class roads. So that's where the biggest challenge is. But again, you have to you have to note that the other enabler are now the devices.
The devices.
The phones.
There's been a report about reducing taxes on smartphones.
Yes, that's a discussion that we are managing as government to make sure that the taxes we harmonize as EAC to be able to reduce taxes on devices. The tablets, the laptops, the phones, and all these other devices that really help in bridging information gaps across. So you did remember that in around 2016, we did an assessment around e-West. So we found that by that time, most of African companies were referred to as dumping sites, where most of these manufacturing companies, most of these foreign companies used to, used to dump basically most of them. And we didn't have capacity as government to refurbish most of these, and they used to really affect our environment. So we did put a ban, but now we're revising and we're actually analyzing the impact of that ban to be able now to lift, because now we believe I've built some good infrastructure.
Okay.
Also NITA, what I need to mention is that we're also building from our partners and the funding that we've gotten, we're also going to establish 4 e-West management centers across the country. So that means that all electronic waste in the country will actually be now recycled, and then we'll reduce the impact of this e-West onto our environment. So by then, we're going to lift the ban on importation of used devices. So that will also bridge or contribute to bridging the information gaps, because now the devices are a bit cheaper, and people can actually access a smartphone as low as maybe 100,000 or
it's a fair one.
a fair one. But if it's used, then it could go to around 100K or 150.
Okay.
So there is the issue of devices, the issue of the infrastructure, the fiber and the data centers. Then there is also the issue of the policies, the laws that are all in place to actually favor or promote information sharing across.
Okay.
So I wanted to give that background such that people actually out there that are viewing us today really appreciate
exactly
what has been invested in and the journey. And then also try and bring this information into something that could actually intrigue their mind and know exactly where we're going as a country. Because now we're moving into a phase of 4IR.
What is 4IR?
The fourth industrial revolution. So other countries are already taking it up, but most of African countries are still leapfrogging. They're not yet there. Things to do with robotics, things to do with machine learning, things to do with AI, things to do with big data. You look at most of these traffic lights. But even when you're coming to town and there's literally no vehicle coming from town back, you find that still the lights are still red with all these volumes.
All they are functioning, how they're supposed to function.
They could function, but they're not smart enough. Now with AI and most of these 4IR features, it means that we could actually embed these systems into these traffic lights to actually tell that I need to give this amount of time to this lane and less on this lane. So actually they're just there.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to tell you the power of most of these systems. I just gave you a brief example.
So that shows we're moving forward.
Yeah, we're moving forward. Yeah, once we're prepared as a country, the infrastructure is there, the enabling environment is being set, then the future is really positive for
So now
Uganda.
it's up to the business community to really embrace and have this knowledge that actually they can access this. Now, there has been something that has been going on when government proposed on taxation of social media.
Yes.
And on all these applications that are very key sources when it comes to information sharing. Don't you think that in a way is going to affect
the rate at which this information is shared? Because I mean, some of these applications are developed with ease. I may not have time to go to my Google Chrome, type www. But if I go to my Facebook app or any application developed by any person, I can find it much more easy to access information. And as Vita, have you tried to advise government on that?
how the possible repercussions once that, because once these people are out of business or they increase the rate at which we access their services, it could also cost us.
That's very true. Like I told you earlier, there are discussions around reducing the cost of devices. But then there are also other issues relating to the tax regime when it comes to what you're calling social media platforms. But there are other services. And we're having discussions around how we could engage Ministry of Finance and the tax body to be able to reduce taxes on most of these products.
Communication platforms.
Yes, which are mainly social media platforms. But we did have that around, is it how many, 2 or 3 years ago when we had the social media tax,
The social media,
which was reviewed.
But there is one which was being like to now this time around we like taxing Google, I think it's Facebook, but not directly to we the users. The Facebook itself, and probably the burden will be shifted to we the users. Yeah, that's. In fact, I got some few responses from 1 or 2 people who are hosting with Azure. Okay. Others are hosting with Amazon. And actually, most of these platforms are telling them that you have to be VAT registered and all that. So I think what you're is grappling with are compliance issues when it comes to tax. Okay. So you find that most of these businesses are still operating informally. So most of them are not registered businesses. They don't have TINs. They don't have account numbers. They don't have. So you by URA,
what they've done is that they've now taken it to where most of these people get the service. And actually engage them at that level that whichever company that comes in from Uganda, let them have ABCD.
Okay. Oh, yes.
So once they have ABCD in place, then now let's have a discussion. They can operate. So I think it's intended, the move intended actually to try and align the tax regime, to try and bring more players into the tax bracket, such that the effect of tax is actually scaled up to a big number of the population, and therefore the impact of that tax or the effect to the businesses and all that will actually reduce. When many players are onboarded into the tax system, we believe that many businesses will benefit, since now the tax burden, what we call the tax burden, is actually shared. But again, there are discussions to actually remove most of these impediments within our ecosystem, such that people can actually transact freely. They could, because the power of social media globally is actually amazing. When you find that most of these platforms are into 4 billion people, 5 billion people, 6 billion users, so you find that it's really complicated, that now when you put a hindrance into usage, then you're going to cripple most of all these efforts. But there are discussions around that, and we're going to find solutions to them.
Very interesting. Well, it's 25 minutes past 9, and we're having a discussion on bridging the information gap to enhance business in Uganda. And my guest this morning is Joshua Akandanwaho from NITA. He's an IT advisor from that organization, the government-aided organization. And yes, as you have heard, according to what we've heard, the picture is painted as from where we started from, 1998.
That's when we liberalized the sector. Yeah, exactly. But again, there were also other IT investments.
During that time.
Yeah, during that time. Remember the Katochis, Nokia 1600, Ericsson, is it Ericsson, those phones?
Ericsson, yeah, Sony Ericsson.
By the way, those days, for you to have a phone, it was actually like a privilege or something for the elites or something for the yes. And you would see someone with a phone and say, wow, I wish I was that person. But today things have changed.
Don't forget a smartphone which used to shake people.
Things have changed.
But iPhones, people today own iPhones, which are considered to be one of those classic devices for communication.
Now everywhere.
But everyone can now have it.
Yeah, when you look at the statistic from UCC, our teledensity is around 70%. 70%. Okay. So that means for every 100 Ugandans that you collect or bring together, 70 of them have phones. The statistics before 10 years or around 20 years back then were around 5% or 2%.
10 years ago.
That is around 20 years.
In a 10 year span, that
is around 20 years, 15 years back then. Our teledensity was around 5 or 6%.
6%.
So it means that for every 100 Ugandans, only 6 had phones.
That's great.
But now the teledensity is around 70%.
70%.
So that, or every 10 people that you get, let me just simplify that with that. Every 10 people that you get, every 10 Ugandans that you collect or bring together, on average 7 have mobile phones.
Mobile phones.
Yes.
Very interesting. And of course, we're still having this discussion. And now as we get into the break, I would still have to remind you that the markets on the Zabo platform are on. *292# is simply the code for you there, which will avail with options where you will be in position to buy government bonds and securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now the markets open at exactly 8:15 and they're going to be running up to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time. And this is Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when these markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself quite some huge profits. Something very key and instrumental when it comes to your financial growth and development as a person. And Zabo made this a reality for you. And it says, my money, my future. And all that East Africa tells you, do something new. Now let's get into the break. When we return, we shall be still delve deeper and sum up this topic of bridging information.
Smart 24, driving business.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Buy the MTN WakaNet router, which connects up to 32 devices and gets a free 40 GB data bundle at only 149,000 shillings. Or buy the MTN WakaNet MiFi at only 75,000 shillings and enjoy a free 15 GB bundle to stream, study, work, and play on the go. Visit any MTN service center to buy the MTN WakaNet router or MiFi and enjoy the internet that does amazing things.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292 hash. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
Saving or securing for the future does not only mean investing in stocks, real estates, or companies, but there are so many chances of becoming a billionaire through practicing agriculture. You don't need a very big plot of land or large capital to start, but slowly by slowly you can build an empire. Uganda's economy is made up of agriculture, services, and industry sectors. But agriculture comes out as the backbone of Uganda, employing 70% of the population and contributing half of the country's exports and earnings. Agriculture being the main supplier of raw materials for several companies, and it's readily marketed both in urban and rural areas. There are so many chances of the next billionaires coming from agriculture. From the farmers to the processors, from the processors to the traders, and from the traders to the final consumers. We shall be taking you through the whole agriculture chain. My name is Chris Chitaka Haman, and this is Farm Smart, showing every Friday 7 to 8 p.m. only on Smart 24 TV, driving business.
Smart 24, driving business.
Break. You're still watching Smart Means Business. Manju Mariji with my guest, that is Joshua Akandanwaho. He's an IT advisor at NITA, and we're discussing the aspect of bridging information, of course, to bridging information gaps to enhance businesses in Uganda. So, Joshua, as we're still having this discussion, there is internet, the issue of the internet cost.
Yeah. Now, what we've seen 2 or 3 days ago when the minister, Honorable Chris, launched the price reduction from around $70 to $35. To us that are within government, or for those that build for public, we see it as something fundamental.
Fundamental, okay. I see.
In terms of the disruption that is going to bring in the internet market ecosystem. Government being the biggest enabler or influencer in the market means that when it reduces their prices, most of these other ISPs are also going to reduce.
Okay.
We've seen and observed this trend actually since around 2013, when prices, before that they were around 1,200.
1,200.
It reduced to around 600. But remember, as government, we run a price that is way below the market average, because we need to make now this business very competitive and also try to lower the cost of doing business, especially for government, because NITA, our space is limited to government, but then that does not mean that we also don't provide internet to other what we call target users.
Target users, yeah.
Which are schools, which are hospitals,
businesses,
innovation and incubation centers. All these are actually providing what we call a public good. So all entities that are providing a public good across the country, we are connecting them. And by connecting them means that we are providing some bit of market competition for other private ISPs.
Yes.
Because when we extend connectivity, we are actually telling these private ISPs that now you focus on the public.
The public, yeah.
So by focusing on the public, they're going to reduce their rates, because now they're going to provide like some bit of competition. For me to take on this client, I need to give them a better rate. A better rate. So we've seen that, and the ripple effect is actually going to be felt across the country. But again, the citizens are also beneficiaries from the onward services that government provides. When you go to an entity and they tell you that it's costing us all this money to actually work on you. Some of the services actually paid. Some of the services actually paid when you go to these government entities. So when you reduce the cost of internet, it means that we reduce the input costs that most of these public offices provide or invest into building these services. Or extending these onward services to the citizens. So when we reduce the cost of internet, it means that also the price of onward services to the citizens is also going to reduce.
It's going to reduce very
improving the experience of these citizens, because it means that when we automate, when we take most of our services in the public sector online, it means that now people out there are going to find it very much more easier, convenient and efficient to actually absorb them or consume them without physically going to these offices to actually submit most of your documents. So actually the impact is broad. We could have a day's discussion around it. But Muntuawans is definitely the ultimate beneficiary of the price cuts.
Yes. And now we can also look into the innovations that NITA has put in place to aid information, to bridge the information gaps within the country.
One is that we just mentioned around reduction in internet prices. Because the ripple effect is going to be felt across the private ISPs. So they're also going to reduce that. Then the other one is we did mention something to do with the devices. We're also working something around the ESC.
The ESC?
The ESC partner states to
harmonize the
taxation regime, and then also the pricing around most of these devices. Then the other thing is that
the innovation space.
We're also supporting the innovation space, because there's a lot that our young people out there actually building each day. They produce software, they produce innovations, they produce, and most of them are growing actually into real entrepreneurs, real businesses. When you look at the innovation ecosystem in the country, it's on a trajectory. When you look at most of these incubation centers, go to Innovation Village.
Very true.
You could engage.
There is even an IT hub in Nakawa.
A very good friend of mine. If you could see how he's turned up most of these young entrepreneurs into actually building a lot of systems, a lot of innovations, a lot of solutions for the problems that we're facing in society, you will be amazed. You go to Innovation Village, go to Outbox, go to...
There is one at Nakawa?
That's the government
innovation. By the government,
ministry. But I'm just trying to appreciate the role of the private sector into this space. But then also as government, we've established the Innovation Center or the hub that is at UICT.
Yeah, exactly.
This is close to a 500-seater space.
It's very huge.
Free from the public. You could just come in and access it any other time. Connected to first-class internet with all amenities in there.
What are the requirements for you to join? And somebody may want to know. I mean, do they have to pay something, or it's free space? Everything's free.
There's no requirement.
You come
just walk in. Just walk in
with your head.
With just your head and brains and maybe your laptop or phone, and just sit there, and then they take you through the incubation program, and then you'll appreciate what we are doing in that space. But then there is also a fund. We created around 15 billion fund.
15 billion.
Yeah, to support homegrown innovations. And that is seated at Ministry of ICT. Underneath there is a whole program that is building these innovation centers, and then also coming up with those grants, like some seed grants to
the different
startups across the country. But then also as NITA, as the National IT Authority, also extending connectivity to the incubation centers and hubs. Because I told you, these are big consumers.
Okay.
You find that one innovation hub is consuming 100 Mbps per month. That's a lot.
100
Mbps,
megabytes per second.
That's a lot of traffic going to this innovation hub.
Okay.
Let me just put it into context. Now you have a highway. Just take, say for example, Express. Entebbe Express is one of the
big. It seems big.
The best fine roads in the country.
Free. Yeah.
Now we've given you access to this express highway, and we've told you that you drive until you knock yourself out. This is what a megabyte per second means. Because we look at the speeds. So you can drive to whichever speed
you want.
And you own this road alone. You're not competing with anyone because you provide dedicated. So actually it's you alone on this road. And you're telling you drive until you knock yourself out.
Exactly.
So these are the speeds that we are talking about. So it's actually big in terms of traffic. So the traffic that we're generating, that we're seeing across the ecosystem is actually improving over years. But then also the output that most of these young innovators are actually releasing into the space is actually amazing. Very amazing.
Yeah. Very interesting. And also on that note, there is that the aspect of information security. You know, data, I mean, in some sort of a way has organizations are operating on tension, and we've been having issues of hacking to the different information systems of organizations. And how are we handling such cases? Now, you as NITA, it might be a great area of concern.
What you have to understand is that as government, we built the enabling environment when it comes to cyber laws.
Cyber laws, yeah.
There's the E-Transactions Act that regulates the nature at which most Ugandan companies and businesses transact online.
Okay.
And there are actually regulations around it. So there's the E-Transactions Act, there's the E-Signatures Act, there's Computer Misuse Act.
Computer misuse, yeah.
There is now the Data Protection and Privacy Act, 2019, the recent one that regulates all collectors, of data. When you go to an office or an insurance company or a betting company and they ask for your name, NIN, phone, all that is personal data. So we've created a law that regulates that environment, how this data is collected, how it's protected, how it's managed, the access controls around it. We've built regulations around it. So all these speak to cybersecurity. Because it all starts from how we collect this data, how we generate it, how we store it, how we analyze it, and the access controls around this data or this information.
Access controls.
So as government, we built the DC, that's the National Data Center that I earlier told you about, that is hosting all government applications. And we built it with the latest technology. Very good firewalls, very good infrastructure around it to actually protect. But that doesn't mean we don't also, we are maybe protected or proofed to cyber threats and all these things. They always come in. But it all goes back to how prepared are you as a business or as government to actually be able to look at these incidents, actually tell that they're incidents and how you manage them. But the cyber threat issue is real.
Real, very real.
Look at most of these developed countries, they've been hit terribly.
Very true.
It's a multi-billion-dollar investment or business out there that people actually invest in to actually kill your
business.
Your business. I don't know how most of these guys benefit or profit.
How can they steal money?
Yes. Now the fraudsters are
fraudsters. Yeah.
But there are laws and regulations that have really been established in the country where most of the citizens can actually rely on and be able to report most of these cases. Those that are happening around the MNOs and the telcos, the transactions, those are UCC is actually managing that, and in most of their regulations, they've actually provided room for that. But again, we as businesses, we need to be resilient when it comes to how we build the systems that we operate on, the architecture of these systems.
The architecture, yeah.
We have to be innovatively building these systems. We have to actually innovate as we build. Not to build and again become innovative. We need to actually start the innovation aspect of it to be embedded in how we build most of the
systems.
Because there is what we normally term as garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage out.
So if you have a proper, very good system, you're going to provide very good data insights around it, and the system will actually give you a lot of good insights around it, which will help your businesses prevent profit leakages, be able to inform your decisions on the next markets, be able to inform your decisions on how or where you need to invest as a business, what you need to cut low. So all these are things that are being generated out of most of this data that businesses collect. Yeah.
Now, if we can take a look at some aspect, why do you think it's important for NITA to, like how you work hand in hand with having those internal innovations that you have within? And
the internal development teams.
The internal development teams.
Yes, yes. Now, as any entity, be government or private, I'm not saying that you should have most of these teams because, again, defeats purpose. Say, for example, you're a logistics company. You have to come up with a software development team internally to help you develop software. No. If it's an IT business, then
it is
because then it makes business sense. But again, as government, we also need to build these development teams internally. Not all ministries or departments, but for those that we've seen that for those that actually have these internal development teams, have actually gone ahead to build very good software.
Okay.
Look at NSSF, look at NITA, look at URA, look at most of these game changers into this space, especially the public space.
The public space.
They have all set up internal development teams. Actually look through their process flows and actually automate them and provide services. Yeah. But again, we're not saying that we are stopping or limiting growth
of other innovation
in the innovation space. We actually
some people can see it as a competition.
Competition.
Some people.
Competition is never okay. Sometimes it's bad, but competition is good.
It's good, yeah.
To some extent.
Yeah.
But again, we are complementing each other's effort.
Oh yes, complementing.
Yeah. So you need to look at it as a complementary issue, a complementary angle, such that whatever the innovation, the private innovation players are building and whatever government is building, all is complementing each other's effort. Actually have a very good, resilient ecosystem that can actually perform better and actually have more revenues or more profits or more returns. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can wind this up as we take a look at the future of information systems in our country, Uganda.
And the future is bright, like I told you, because we have some of the best brains in the world. I won't say in the country, in the world.
The human resource.
We have the best brains in the world. What we need to do is actually align them. Because we have also, the biggest opportunity that we have as Africa is that we have the biggest number of challenges. Now, from the business perspective or angle, I need you to look at challenges, or I need Ugandans to look at challenges as opportunities. When you go to Europe and most of these developed countries, they have less challenges.
Yeah.
So actually, innovation in those places is becoming very hard to actually come up with something new. Because everything has been done.
Everything has been done.
When you come to
Definitely.
Africa,
Yeah.
when you come to Uganda, look at garbage, look at sewage, look at dust,
It's a virgin territory.
look at the deaths of mothers in the hospitals, look at the deaths of children, look at the accidents. All these are problems associated to Africa or Uganda. And these call for solutions, targeted solutions.
IT-oriented.
When you go to Mulago and see the number of border guys being hanged there, they're slicing their legs.
Their legs off. Oh,
So
it's
you
very
really actually wonder, can't we target our innovations to actually build solutions for most of these accidents? So an area like Uganda where we have the biggest challenges or problems, this is an area that still has the best opportunities you can ever find. It just needs to align our youth, be able to target them to these challenges, and they will just go up and running. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And definitely at this point, as we come to the end, I've been with Joshua Akanda Nwaho, is an IT advisor at NITA, Uganda. And of course, you can see really the opportunities that actually present for our country, Uganda, despite what we see happening. You see, what eye are you seeing with? You know, there is what they call the third eye. What are you using to see?
The lenses you're using.
You know, there is that eye that sees what other people don't see.
Yes.
Like somebody sees problems.
Yes.
For you, because of that other eye, you are seeing as an opportunity.
And those are the
Because
guys
you're
that are
looking
going
for
to be the Mark Zuckerberg.
the Mark Zuckerbergs.
Because you saw a problem
Exactly.
or you saw a challenge,
Yeah.
and you actively went into to develop a solution
A solution to that.
to solve that problem. So this is the message that we need to take out there. That
Yeah.
we have a lot of problems. Look at malaria. We have a lot of problems in Africa.
Yeah.
So many that I can't list.
A lot.
So all these problems, a very business-minded person should actually look at most of these problems and find solutions
to that.
That's where the money is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course, just to remind you, channel 372 on DSTV, channel 320, that's on GOTV, and of course, you reach out on our social media handles too at Smart24TV Twitter, Smart24TV Facebook, that's Smart24TV Official, that's on Facebook, and Smart24TV Live, where you can stream us at any part of the country and the world you'll be at. But also, you have to go to your Google Play Store and download the Smart Digital application where you can stream Smart24 TV, as you could be in jam stack heading to from work, heading home back in the evening. You could still stream Smart24 TV, and also on our official website smart24.tv to get further details of information. You could be making some research, business oriented. You can go to that website, and I believe it's going to be very crucial to give you the information that you need. It's the 3rd of August, and of course I urge you to be productive, set your priorities right. Of course, it's still a fresh day. Think about tomorrow. What solution can you provide for tomorrow? Think about it today. Don't wait for tomorrow to reach, and you think about that solution. Now, till tomorrow, a very good morning.
Thank you.